This is Dan from Ramblin' Ambition, and welcome to another installation video. So we got the bumper on with the winch, but today what we're looking at is an auxiliary shock setup by Van Compass. So I got their auxiliary shock mounts and the reinforcement brackets and the Falcon shocks to add some dampening performance to the front of the van. So we're not lifting the van or changing any of the front suspension at this time. So I do want some extra dampening for those washboard roads as we kind of figure out, as the van gets loaded, how we want our suspension to perform. So this is just kind of a step that we can upgrade the shock package inside of that bracket, but I think that bracket's necessary anyway for what we wanted to do. So I thought you guys might want to see how we put it together. This is a bolt-on installation by Van Compass. And if this is something you're interested in, please stick around for the video. All right, the setup is pretty simple. We had to remove the inner liner. So there are three pieces to that. There's the front piece, there's the back piece, and then there is the mud guard. So those three pieces have to come out. There are 3 of these push pins. There's 2 T25 bolts that go into the mud flap itself, and then there's a handful of these 10mm nuts that go on all these studs so that you can pull off the inner fender. So the next thing we got to do is, this is the bump stop brace. So we got to remove these bolts and loosen these bolts, and that's going to let us allow for the lower shock mount to go in place. And so that lower shock mount is this brace, and inside the hardware kit it is going to go up onto the A-arm like that, and then it's going to sandwich in between that plate down there. So we got to take those bolts loose, and then Van Compass provides a bolt for this so that we can mount everything together. So those are 16mm bolts and nuts. So this bracket does a couple things. It's going to sit right on top of the lower bump stop mount like that, and then the other piece is going to go right there on the frame. So they provide some extra bolts to make those connections for us. So we're going to go ahead and put that. So the 2.5 inch, 2 3/4 inch bolt goes straight through the A-arm up through there, and that's going to be this bolt. It's going to take a bolt and a washer on one side and a washer on the other, and then it's got a concentric nut that's going to go down. We're just going to leave that loose until we get the other 2 bolts on. And so they gave us some extra long bolts to go through this bracket. It's also going to get a washer on the top and the bottom, and one of the nuts. Alright, so it looks like that, and like that, and we'll tighten everything down. And they are 17mm, by the way. Alright, we've got everything tightened down, so you can see that. And right there, and we got all those pieces. The next step is to get, there's a mounting plate with a nut that goes up above. And so we'll show you what that looks like here real fast. They give us a bunch of plates to thread bolts up into. This one goes right there with that big hole right below this space. And the bracket is cut so that it fits just like that. So that's going to give us a that's going to give us the ability to bolt that bracket up to the upper area, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, so that plate that we placed goes right over where this hole is, and this is the ABS module, and on the bracket there are holes cut out so that we don't interfere with that. We're also going to be putting a bolt through here to help mount that bracket in place. And so the first step we're going to take is to take one of the bolts for that plate that we just put up and get that bracket secured, just so we can start doing all the rest of the things. All right, so we'll make sure that bolt is not cross-threaded and we'll tighten it down. All right, we got those two just kind of started. We're going to snug them up here in just a minute. And then this is going to go into this slot right here so that we have a bolt to tighten down for that. That takes just the 3/8 inch bolt that's included in the kit. All right, so that's kind of a fiddly thing. You got to actually push this in a little bit to get this started. But then it's going to lock up against the piece like that when you tighten it. So we're going to snug these down. So these two are 3/4. And then that is, I believe, 9/16. And then we'll get ready to, we do have to drill 2 holes, one right here and one right here. And we'll do that in just a second. All right, we got them tightened up. So that's 9/16 and then to the 2 3/4. So now we're going to drill this hole and that hole. There shouldn't be anything behind it. They're 3/8 inch holes. We're just going to use the bracket as a guide. All right, we checked and there's nothing behind it. All right, we got those done. We're going to shoot some paint back there to protect them. All right, we got those installed. These two are really challenging to get to because it's on the inside of the fender. There's nothing behind it, but there's lots of stuff for you to get your hands into, to get a wrench behind there to get it done. But if you're patient, you can get it in there, and then we're just going to torque them down to spec and then get the shock installed. All right, the shock is pretty easy to install. We're just gonna, it goes right up through here and right where a normal shock mount goes. All right, so we're gonna put the bottom in first. So that shock bolt's 7/8. The top hat of this shock is just 3/4. Then it has a star socket on the inside that we'll use to make sure we tighten everything down without the piston spinning, or without the upper bolt spinning. All right, and that's it. Nice install. So we'll put the tire back on and get that bottom bolt secured, but that's really going to be it. The other side is exactly the same. There are no differences. It's just that the shock mounts, there's some nuances on the driver's side, like the ABS module, and then that's not there on the passenger side. And so we'll put the wheel well liners back up, and we'll let you know how it performs, because I think that's really what we're looking for, is the performance from having that extra shock up front. So hope you guys got something in the video. Hope you like what we're doing here. Again, Falcon shocks from Van Compass for the Van Compass extra shock up front. So we can upgrade this to a reservoir shock if we want to, but we wanted to go with just a basic shock setup first. And I'm excited. So again, thanks for watching. If you made it this long, give yourself a thumbs up. We appreciate it. Just basic hand tools. It takes about an hour per side. just because all the things you got to do with the inner fenders and all the other stuff. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with it. This is Dan from Ramblin' Ambition. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.